going on.
Amen.
All right, we need court watchers. There was a time, and I think that's what it's all going to send it back to. I'm going to talk about there was a time. And when I say there was a time, I also want to emphasize if it's not broke, don't fix it. Because there was a time when we were doing a lot of things that we're not doing now.
That's right.
And it wasn't broke. I don't know, we over-celebrated because we thought we had overcome. Okay, so we quit doing it. We need to go back to some of the things we were doing when there was a time.
That's right.
Because our condition hasn't really changed.
No, that's right.
If you look at our history, you will find that as the slaves were freed and the laws were changed, and those things that were once misdemeanors or ordinance violations became felonies. And our men in particular, all right, were picked up walking down the road. You look like you might be. And shipped off to prison in mass numbers. So there hasn't really been a change. The biggest change it really is not what is happening, but where it's happening.
Yes. That's right.
It was happening in the country by the railroad tracks, near the cornfield, the cotton field, because that's where we were. But as we moved into the urban areas, what was happening didn't change. It just moved where we were.
That's right.
So there was a time. There still is a time. And I believe there still is time.
Yes.
As I looked around, I noticed there are no young boys here. They're not even young babies here. All right? If we're going to protect our race, young boys need to be here. Now, maybe nobody in here has a grandson, has a son. All right? But our young boys, just like our baby girls, need to be here. There was a time in my growing, in my maturing, I used to hear, and y'all know who said this all the time, keep hope alive.
All right.
And there was, I was like, what do you mean by that? Keep hope alive. Why are we talking about keep hope alive? Well, as I got older,
All right. You understood.
I began to understand.
Yeah.
And what I understand even more today is that our young boys don't have hope.
That's right.
They don't have hope.
That's right.
We talk about keeping it alive. We got to go to our resurrection prayer.
That's right.
We got to go to our resurrection study.
That's right.
We got to go into resurrection action.
Yes.
They don't have hope.
That's right.
Now, maybe if some of them was here today, there would be a glimmer. And some of them were going where we were going. A spark might initiate.
Yeah. That's right.
As has been our history in schools, the childish little things they do because they're children result in more severe punishment. Being expelled, excluded for being children. And not just being children, but there is a difference between being a boy and being a girl. I got one of each.
All right.
All right?
All right.
The energy that little boys have, that exploring nature that little boys have, that inquisitiveness of adventure that little boys have. We need to satisfy all of that because it is real.
Yes.
It is real. And if we want to have healthy families and we want to have women, young girls who got good men to marry, you got to raise the little boys. The little boys. There was a time when we had organizations that we participated in. I'm going to talk about the one that I've been with the longest. And I'm not necessarily on a recruiting mission, but I've said this time and again. Because our organizations, our older ones, are dying off as we die off. Because we haven't, even as members, I'm going to take some blame. And when I'm at the meeting, I tell my members. There's an organization called the Improved, Benevolent, Protective Order of Elks of the World. Kind of like the Masons. I know y'all heard of them, Eastern Star.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Elks.
Eastern Star.
Elks is a fraternal organization that is more than 110 years old. What did they do? Shame I had to say they. All right, we still got a couple around here. They would gather the children, and because every household could not necessarily afford to take a field trip on their own money, didn't have a reliable car that maybe could make it far at Cedar Point, they would gather the children, and each household would put in what little money they did have. And then they would have a fundraiser. They would sell barbecue and bake cakes and what have you, and they'd get a little bit more money. Then they would bring the children together. Where they get these children? They were their own children, their grandchildren, the child down the block. And together, like a village, they would take these children to activities. And it wasn't always you had to go to Cedar Point. But they would provide opportunity for them to see something beyond their 4-block area.
Yes.
There was a time when we would take not just our good child, but their little bad child
That's right.
that wasn't going anywhere, wasn't moving, was going to be in the same classroom, on the same street corner with your good child. That child you said didn't have no home training, would be able to come to Big Mama's house. Because Big Mama would train him when he wasn't getting trained at his house. And a child loves discipline. There was a time. There was a time. I have the auto theft docket. Guess who's down there more than anybody? Our boys. Our young men.
That's right.
The boys have always been fascinated with cars because that mechanical thing for a beginning. They want to play and tinker. Okay, they want to say, can I get it to go faster? Can I did wheelies on my bike. Can I do wheelies in a car? That's what it's, when they come, and some of them have never been in trouble before, there was no juvenile record. They are approaching, many of them, a point where they're about to go into the 11th grade, or they're about to go into the 12th grade, and they have no idea what opportunities are available from there. But when I leave school, I'm going to lose all my friends. I don't have this routine, this discipline. They begin to wonder. They begin to look. They begin to explore. And I don't care what anybody tell you, boys run in packs. It's their nature. Just because you see 3 colored boys on a cover don't mean that's a gang.
That's right.
That's right.
We need to go beyond what they're not getting in school. We need to be able to take them to see. How about a mountain? There are mountains in Michigan. We don't really have to go that far.
You really don't.
There are mountains in Michigan. They don't know that what they see on TV, some of it's actually real. There are oceans. There are employment opportunities climbing a mountain. We need to enlarge the scope of their world. And because we are economically oppressed, depressed, we need to put together our resources. One of the things I always tell the folks about organizations like the Elks, now, it's a nonprofit. Now you can take your $40 and you can take your babies and you can go on a little field trip or a little outing, and you know, your little group y'all can have some fun and you can come on back home. Or you can take that same $40, donate it to the nonprofit, write it off on your taxes, and take more children on a further trip, because some other folks put their $40 in too, and teach more, and show more, and be a village, an active village, and let our little boys know that there's more than basketball, boxing, and football.
All right. All right.
Yeah.
In many ways, we need to go back and look at what brought us over.
That's right.
Because there was a time. There was a time. There was a time. And everything that we used to do might have been old-fashioned, but that didn't make it out of season. I encourage that we begin as a community of Boy Scouts. They always, well, they gotta have a scout master. Well, before you got to the scout master, you had to have a cub mama. It was a dead mother. Okay, before there was a scout master. I bet if we looked all over the city of Detroit, we would find 5 Cub Scouts groups.
That's true.
But they're teaching skills. They're teaching skills.
Yes, they are.
They're teaching values.
Yeah.
They're providing opportunity. We need to go back and pick up some of these things. I want to encourage and I want to congratulate. As I was leaving the courthouse and I was contemplating what could I say, I got this email and it was listing some of the impacts that we're having on our, and I don't like to say our incarcerated population, because you don't have to go to jail or prison to have a felony. There are more people with felonies who never went to jail, never went to prison, but are still facing the discrimination that attaches to having a felony. And don't fool yourself, because when all the laws are being changed in the 50s, late 50s, early 60s, where it said coloreds can't live here, coloreds can't go to school there, when the attitudes and the regulations was coloreds can't have these jobs, coloreds can't do this, all they did was take out colored and put in felon. That's all they did. All right?
That's it.
Now, the good news is felon was less discriminatory based on ethnicity. So finally, when there was enough folks who had felonies of every race, religion, and denomination, now we got some power to do some things. Because we all felt an impact. So we need to be able to have a sister group, Flint People's Task Force, Muskegon's People's Task Force,
All right.
Pontiac's People's Task Force. All right? But I'm going to let you in on a secret. Marquette People's Task Force. Grayling's People's Task Force. All right? Houghton's People's Task Force. Because this done gone statewide.
All right.
It's gone statewide. What I saw, and the reason why I want to push this, on that email it said, and it was President Clinton who established that the states could deny food stamps to people who had a felony conviction, especially if it was connected to a drug offense. And as I always tell my young people, for folks sitting in the car passing the blunt, it's called delivery of a controlled substance. One kid said, so each of us should have our own blunt? So that's not quite the answer that I'm looking for. Oftentimes, those who are on cocaine, heroin, meth are self-medicating. They're self-medicating. And they may be self-medicating a physical hurt, it may be a mental hurt, but they're self-medicating. But then when they are convicted, even if it's reduced to possession of a, because everybody had their own blunt, they wasn't passing it. You can still be denied food stamps. And what I saw come across the email was that there has been a push in Michigan to expand that exclusion of eligibility to people who have not only been convicted of a felony, but people who have been convicted of a misdemeanor.
Oh my God.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
All right? Okay. And the email was emphasizing that there was a big pushback the first of the year. Okay? And then it goes out, we had one. But now it's coming back again. They're trying to slip it through again. So we have to make sure that while we're watching the court, we're watching the legislature.
That's right.
All at the same time. And one of the reasons why we need to have chapters in Muskegon and Benton Harbor and Saginaw and Marquette and Houghton, all these other places, is because the city of Detroit no longer has enough state representatives, state senators to swing legislation in Lansing. You gotta have a friend.
Yeah.
And the only way you can have a friend is to make a friend and to be a friend. So we need to be watching across the state, and when this legislation comes up in Lansing, it's not enough to just have votes coming out the urban center. We gotta have some folks in the suburbs. But guess what? That heroin addiction, it's in the suburbs. They feeling the pain. All right, better reach across a mile road and take the hand of another mother of another color who's feeling the pain.
All right.
Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. And when we take our children, it doesn't have to be a long, long way. Maybe I'm the only one in the room. I was born and reared in the city of Detroit. Outside of when I went away to school, I haven't been away long. Even when I went away to school, I didn't go through 5. Could make it home in a weekend.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
Anybody in here never been to the Science Center? Never been to Henry Ford Museum? Doesn't have to be too far. When was the last time you was at Detroit Historical Museum? Did you even know there is a children's museum?
Yeah. Wait a minute, where's this children museum?
On Ferry, between Woodward and John R.
I ain't been there.
Yeah.
Well, last time I was there, I was a children. But it is still there.
Yeah.
But if we take our children just that far, if we take our boys in particular just that far, they will find out there really is a whole nother world that they can explore, that they can go to, that there is adventure. It was a wonderful thing that Obama was elected president,
Yes, it was.
but it sure would be a lot nicer if they could have some heroes they could just touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Because in their lifetime, there's only going to be about 6, 7 presidents at the most.
Right.
All right? But there's some other jobs out there. I shock the boys when they come down there, but them stolen cars, I make everybody go back to school.
Good, good.
At least you ain't gotta give them.
But I tell them one thing I found out. Wayne County Community College has a program training auto mechanics. It's a 2-year program. The second year is internship. They're getting paid. The mechanics are making 6 figures. The mechanics are making more money than the judges and don't have student loans.
All right.
All right?
Okay.
We need to let it be known.
Yes, that's right.
I want to thank you for inviting me. I want to thank you for the work that you do. I want to ask that you look back and remember there was a time. And maybe it's time that we start doing some of the things we were doing. Because our condition really hasn't changed.
Nope.
Thank you.